We discussed a lot of on-court stuff today when it comes to the NBA. Let's dive into off the court because it has been reported for $76 billion over the next 11 years. It is official. Your home for the National Basketball Association will feature ESPN, who will get a share of the conference finals as well as the NBA finals. NBC is back in the NBA business with about 100 games per year. 50 of those, by the way, will be exclusively on Peacock, or at least airing simultaneously with NBC, which is a very interesting move considering the fact that the third deal will go to Amazon Prime. And it is official. Warner Brothers Discovery, the end of Inside the NBA is over. The NBA on TNT will rest in peace after the conclusion of the 2024 2025 Eastern Conference Finals. Now, again, the package on this, is kind of interesting because the ESPN is going to have less regular season games, which again was reported consistently for all of these markets, whether it's ESPN, Amazon, NBC. They didn't want the regular season because they know that the NBA regular season is meaningless. Not a lot of people watch every Wednesday, every Friday, etc. Does sound like the NBA may have, a Friday night doubleheader or a Wednesday night doubleheader like they currently do, but not both, and maybe the Saturday showcase after the football season. NBC is going to have games on Tuesday night as well as Sunday night basketball in America right after football season. The NBC is going to keep their sports block essentially here, moving all year long in the winter months. I think that's a good move by the NBA and NBC. Get some exposure, and then Amazon Prime is also going to have exclusive games. They're going to be in charge of the in-season tournament. They're going to be in charge of the play-in tournament. They're going to be in charge of select playoff games as well. Uh, and that is one of the reasons, why the NBA created the in-season tournament, which I think is a Mickey Mouse trophy. I don't understand it. The different courts, yada yada yada. It's all for money. I could give a rip about it. The play-in tournament for the postseason, and I understand again, it's technically a playoff game, though it's not. Who knows? It's a money grab type thing too. I think this could lead to the NBA again. You have $76 billion coming to you. Do we get the expansion teams here? Seattle, Las Vegas, probably Minnesota, if not Memphis, moving from the west to the east. You have 16 teams on each side, 32 teams. Maybe the NBA recreates divisions. You have 8 divisions, 4 teams in each division, the NFL model. We could see that happening, I believe. And, maybe you do something like the top 4 division winners in each conference. They are the top 4 seeds. Then you have, the next 6 seeds are wild card seeds to get your 10 teams from each side, which is 20 out of 32 teams making the postseason, which again, I believe is too much, but that's the direction the NBA is going. But these are massive deals. And I have already said that I have not loved ESPN's NBA coverage. I think Mike Breen has been standing out even more so with Doris Burke and JJ Redick by his side. I don't think they've been bad necessarily, but I don't think they've been at the level of Mark Jackson and Jeff Van Gundy were on that broadcast. Which Jeff Van Gundy was apparently fired because he ripped the NBA officiating, rightfully so. I hope that Jeff Van Gundy gets back in one of these booths, whether it's Amazon Prime or NBC. I do think there's a world out there. Shaq, Kenny, Charles, do they go NBC? Do they go Amazon Prime? I think Maria Taylor will be involved with NBC. I see Mike Tirico being the lead guy. I think Noah Eagle will be the number 2 guy. There's already reports out there that Amazon is interested in bringing in some CBS guys / Warner guys. Kevin Harlan, Ian Eagle, etc. It sounds like Brian Anderson may stay at Warner because of the baseball connection, which would make sense. So there's a lot to go down here. Bottom line is, it is not what I expected it to be. I thought the NBC would actually be about equal to ESPN in terms of finals. I think it's time for the NBA to get NBC on a finals rotation. Though reportedly, the only way ESPN would have done a deal is if they would keep the NBA finals. And I get that from ESPN from a greed standpoint. But again, I think it's time that, the NBA gets a bigger media rights stake because when you have exclusivity over the NBA finals, a lot like baseball does, where Fox has exclusivity over the World Series, it does make that other network, whether it's TBS for baseball, whether it's TNT right now for the NBA, or it's going to be NBC/Amazon Prime, it does make the other networks seem a little bit secondary. There is no note in the report about NBA TV. I'm curious about that, if they're still going to do exclusive games, first round games, because that's technically another media partner, or if the NBA is going to go away from that and give more people more access, which would be smart. Um, I do find it interesting that, again, 50 exclusive Peacock games. You have the games on Amazon Prime. So the NBA with this new media rights deal is clearly embracing the younger generation with streaming. And again, I don't mind streaming random regular season games, or an in-season tournament or a play-in tournament. I get it. I do think playoff games and big national TV games, I think there's still value to cable. I like the setup that NBC has, where no matter what, you can go on Peacock if the game is on NBC and it can be simulcasted. I know NBC does that with the NFL. Obviously, CBS does that with Paramount Plus. I think that makes a ton of sense because you have your old boomers, if you will, that still use cable. You have the younger generation that uses the streaming service as cable. But I think the NBA, we know the playoffs are your biggest chance for advertising. And I don't know who's going to get NBA All Star weekend. That's another big question as well. I hope it doesn't go to ESPN or Amazon. I hope that goes to NBC because I think that the NBA, needs to tweak that, as we've talked about. And maybe they will with a better broadcast partner there in NBC. Um, but there's still a lot to unpack here. There's a lot to unwind. There's a lot of unknowns. We just mostly know it's going to be ESPN is still the head honcho, but there is a lot of streaming in there as the NBA seems to widen the gap. I think even more than the NFL, where they have essentially said, we are moving off the cable business. We are going broadcast and streaming. So I'm very curious as to how this plays out and who is going to be in those announcers chairs and see how the coverage plays out. But the bottom line is NBA and NBC is back. NBA on ESPN, ABC is here to stay, and we will see how Amazon handles their NBA coverage. I suspect we'll see some regular season games as well, just like NBC after the Sunday night season ends. I think after the Thursday night season ends, you'll get exclusive Amazon Prime games. Like that clip from the Brands World podcast? If so, make sure you go down there and hit that subscribe button. While you're down there hitting the subscribe button, make sure to also hit the notification bell so you never miss another upload. And make sure you check out all the other clips from the Brands World podcast right here on YouTube.